So, a couple disclaimers before I talk about the Week 2 slate of games. Again, Steelers, Browns was already talked about. Saints, Panthers we'll probably talk about another day. So two things to keep in mind. One, I was really busy on Sunday. I was working a shift, and then after my shift, it was also my roommate's birthday. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch any of the games. So I do have some notes written down, but if I'm being honest, I feel like anything I say is in a little bit of bad faith because it's mostly just me looking at the final scores and the stat sheet. But I'll try to say, maybe guys kind of brief impressions from every game from what I know about them. The other thing is... Oh, sorry, it took me a second to remember what it was. It's the fact that I went 4-12 making my picks. 9-7 for week 2. It's like, that's not bad. Could be better, could be worse. This was it being worse. It's hard to imagine it can get much worse than this, but I got 4 right. That means that's at least 4 more ways it could get worse than it did this week. But just kind of going through what happened. Buffalo and Miami, like I had said in my predictions, this is a game where I think Buffalo is going to look mortal, and they did. They ultimately lost. They were just gassed. They were running on fumes, both on the field and the depth chart. I know their secondary is depleted right now. I think I read they were on their third center during the game. The offensive line was just gone, and they still gave it everything they had. Again, wasn't able to really watch it, but I walk away feeling impressed with both teams. Buffalo for all the fight they were able to put up, even with all their injuries. Miami for getting the fucking W. They are the only undefeated team in the AFC right now, and I believe they are one of 2 undefeated teams in the whole league. Miami looks good, man. Like I said, after what they did to the Ravens last week, they're playing with confidence. We can beat anybody. Yeah, Buffalo is the Super Bowl favorite, and they're scary, I guess. But we don't fucking care. We just went into the Ravens' house, down 3 touchdowns at the start of the fourth quarter, and came out the winners. Why should we be scared of Buffalo? And yeah, good on them. The only other thing is the butt punt, because I have seen the butt punt. It is a beautiful work of art. To me, it's not nearly as funny as the butt fumble, but it's still a miraculous play. And hey, Miami had that happen to them, and they still hung on to win. Good, probably the best game of the week. Good shit all around. Next, the Bengals and the Jets. This is one I really don't have much to say about, and I think if I watched it, I probably still wouldn't have that much to say about it. The Bengals did what they needed to do. They finally got themselves a dub. Joe Burrow was only sacked twice. So maybe the offensive line has gotten together. Maybe that's a sign that they've kind of figured out what they need to do, or it's more of a sign that the Jets just can't generate pressure. Honestly, yeah, that's really all I have to say. I don't have much written down for this one. Next is the Raiders and the Titans. 2 0-2 teams, 2 playoff teams last year. Titans got it done. They were able to hold on at the end. The Raiders... I know I keep saying that I still kind of have faith in them. It's dwindling week by week. It's like I said last week. Josh McDaniels is supposed to be this, offensive genius, this quarterback guru, whatever the fuck they want to call it. And his team has not looked great offensively, except for maybe the first half against Arizona last week before disappearing in the second half. It makes me really wonder, why did they fire Rich Bisaccia? With all the crazy shit going on with that team last year, he was able to rally the team together, make it to the playoffs, and come, within 1 score of upsetting the eventual AFC champions. And they're like, no, we're going to take another Belichick assistant. The same guy that Indy hired that just skipped out on the job, and he's like, I don't actually really want it. Which was really weird and awkward. I remember that happening, and who, when he did actually take a head coaching position, didn't look that great. At the time, I thought it was a weird decision. I didn't like it. 3 games in, the Raiders look like idiots for doing that. Can they turn it around? Sure, it's only week 3. But the early prognosis is not good. But Tennessee able to get that win, staying alive in the division. They still have 2 games against Jacksonville, so they're still in control of their own destiny. It's a long season. Anything can happen. Next is Saints Panthers. Talk about that later. Ravens Patriots. So the Ravens defense redeemed themselves. I think they got like 3 interceptions. I think they recovered a fumble too. Lamar, I think he threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for a 5th. So both sides of the ball producing. I think the Patriots still put up like 26, 27 points, which is no small number. But the defense got it done when they needed to, and so did the offense. The Ravens look scary. I really do feel like what happened in Miami, I don't want to say it was a fluke because I think the Dolphins are legitimately good, but I feel like the Ravens giving up that win to the Dolphins is the fluke. This is going to be a good team. I think they're going to end up winning the division. I know they play Buffalo next week. That might end up being a playoff game down the road. I don't know who'll be hosting it, but I would not be surprised if this is the first... it's going to be the first time. I would not be surprised if this is not the only time the Ravens and the Bills play this season. As for the Patriots, it's like I said, they're not scary anymore. That mystique of, man, if they have the ball in the 4th quarter, anything can happen, that left as soon as Brady did. Now, is a Belichick defense still good? They gave up, 38 points? That's not great. Yeah, they kind of shut down Pittsburgh's offense, but I watched the Browns game. It looks like Pittsburgh is what shuts down Pittsburgh's offense. I don't know. I'm going to say this. I do not believe that Brady is the reason they won all those championships together. I also don't think Belichick is they're not the only reasons. Brady needed Belichick. He scored 13 points in 2 Super Bowls and won them both. He needed that defense. Belichick also needed Brady. He needed someone to be able to run the offense, dissect the other defense, and make clutch plays. Right now, after their divorce, Brady is the one looking a lot better. But, Bill also had 2 rings with the Giants as their DC before, Brady ever played for him. So, I feel like both their legacies are still great, but the Patriots right now, they look fine, mediocre, okay, but just not scary. Lions, Vikings. Like I said, I'm going to be picking the Lions every week, so I did, but I even said the Vikings are probably going to win. It's 12 p.m. kickoff Kirk, not primetime Kirk, and he came in clutch when he needed to. It seems like the Lions were in control almost the entire game. They just weren't able to finish it. And I think that's something that happened last year. It's like, I think most of their losses were 1-score games, but they just can't finish. They just have a lot of trouble. It seems like the Lions are trying to figure out how to win games. And once they're able to do that consistently, I think they're going to be a very good team. Now, I'm still going to pick them every week, but I don't think they're really quite there yet. But I think they are going to be really fun to watch, and I do think they are going to get some more wins as the season goes on. Oh, the Eagles and the Commies. So, I had said I'm going to pick the Commies because the Eagles don't score in the second half, and that's when the Commanders seem to get all their points. And to my credit, I was right. Eagles scored 24 points in the second quarter, never scored again. The Commanders scored all of their points in the 4th quarter. They only scored 8. They had a safety and then a touchdown. That Eagles defense went off. That is 2 games in a row where they have just smothered the other team. And it makes their week 1 performance against the Lions look like either A, this is an aberration that was just week 1 weirdness, or 2, the Lions offense is really just that good. And the Eagles offense, yeah, they don't really do anything in the second half, but in 3 straight games, they haven't really needed to. Like, they've done exactly what was needed of them. That's not a great recipe. Like, that's not sustainable to me. I remember that year with the Panthers. They went 15-1, looked like super dominant, crushed teams in the playoffs, and then they couldn't get it done against the Broncos. I remember telling people, this team, this is what they do. They score a bunch of points in the first half, the defense is smothering, And then in the second half, they just take their foot off the gas. Like, they might score like a touchdown, maybe a touchdown and a field goal, but they just kind of chill. And that's not gonna work in the playoffs. And eventually I was right. It took me a while to be right, but ultimately I was. That's kind of what I'm thinking about the Eagles. They're gonna win a lot of games, might win a playoff game or two, but I don't think, unless they can get this sorted out, they're not gonna go all the way. But they are the only undefeated team in the NFC. That's right, I almost forgot to say that. They are 3-0. The Dolphins are also 3-0. I don't think they play each other this year, but if they did, that'd be a hell of a game. After that, the Chiefs and the Colts. The Colts won. Apparently the Chiefs looked like shit. Again, I wasn't able to watch it. I haven't really seen much from this game, so I don't know what the fuck happened. It sounds like it was one of those games where the Chiefs fucked around and then they found out, which honestly is kind of what happened in the AFC Championship. That was the vibe I had watching that game. And I mean, they need to learn. They need to learn you can't play with your food. You can't keep making mistakes against another NFL team. But good for the Colts finally getting one on the board. Texans and the Bears. So one of the only 4 games I got right this week is one where I literally flipped a coin. But hey, I mean, good for the Bears. But see, here's the kind of weird shit early in the year. The Bears right now have double the amount of wins of the 49ers. It's 2-1. But that's why I kind of say, like, when you look at week 1, you have to... I mean, it's not week 1, it's week 3. But, like, the early part of the NFL, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's a lot of time. They have as many wins as the Raiders, Saints, and 49ers combined. We'll see if they actually are that good, or if it's just they're kind of getting lucky early in the season. But, I mean, good win for Chicago. As for the Texans, 0-2-1 is not a good start by any stretch of the imagination, but they're clearly not out of it yet. The Jacksonville right now is 2-1. We'll talk about them in a bit. They actually might be the next one. But, you know, Texans still play them twice. Wait, do they? Who have they played this year? Because I don't think they played Jacksonville last week. So they should be, if you can beat Jacksonville twice and then win the rest of your games, you theoretically can still win the division. Again, it's early, man. Anything can happen. Yeah, so next is the Jaguars. So Herbert played. They still lost. They didn't even lose. They got fucking blasted. They lost 38-10. Jacksonville looks good, man. That week 1 loss to the Commanders was still like a pretty close game, and it's truly amazing how bad of an NFL coach Urban Meyer was. This is a team that, it's different. You know, there's definitely some new pieces. But, I mean, I feel like a lot of the core is very similar to what it was last year. And just, like, the body language of the players, the way they kind of talk in interviews, all the, you know, insane bullshit that is not coming out of Jacksonville right now. It's wildly different. Doug Peterson is a good coach, man. He is the only, he's the only coach to get a championship for the Eagles, at least a Super Bowl. And I know that the Jags are playing Philly next week, and I really want to know how the Eagles welcome Doug Peterson back. Because I remember when Andy Reid played in there with the Chiefs, I think they gave him like a standing ovation. Like, yeah, like this is our guy. He's an enemy right now, so, you know, we'll boo as the game goes on, but right now we're going to give him his fair due. Dougie is the one that actually got them the ring, so I imagine they'll kind of give him something similar. But there's a chance that they'll be like, you know, you did give us that Super Bowl, but you're not as synonymous with us as, like, Andy. Like, we have a lot of nostalgia for him. He was our coach for a long time. I think Peterson was only coach there, like, 5 years, but he still got it done, man. And clearly, I mean, 3 games in, he's getting it done in Jacksonville. I saw a post. He's now tied for, like, the 5th most winning coach in Jacksonville history with only 2 games. That's so bad. What was it? He tied, I think it was, like, Mike Mularkey, Mike Munchak, and Urban Meyer. I think those were the 3 names. I know Urban was on there for sure. It's wild just how consistently bad this team is. But the early prognosis for this year, man, it's looking good. This looks like a team that is, they're playing fast. They're playing like they're hungry to be good. I'm kind of starting to become a believer in the Jags. I'm not going to lie. Who's next? Rams and the Cardinals. Like I said going into this, I don't really believe in either team this season. And from what I understand about this game, it doesn't give me much reason to. I mean, the Rams defense shut them down. The Cardinals had no running game to speak of. They did not score a touchdown. They had 4 field goals. Kyler threw 58 times. I think he had like 300 yards or something. No interceptions, but no touchdowns either. The Cardinals just don't seem very good. I kind of feel like that Raiders game was the fluke win. And this is more what we're going to see. We're going to see a team that's... we're just going to see a team that's losing. I hate to say it. Like, I have a friend who is a very passionate Cardinals fan. He's from Arizona. He loves his team. I think it's going to be a long season for you, buddy. But, I mean, the early prognosis of my Saints ain't looking much better. So, hey, I mean, if both our teams end up sucking, at least we can suck together. Green Bay, Tampa Bay. This is another one I got wrong, but the Bucs defense played well. They got I think they got 1 pick off Aaron Rodgers. They only allowed 14 points, and it didn't seem like Green Bay had much of a running game going either. And Tampa still lost. Their offense has not looked that great in 3 games. I think they've only put up 20 points once, and that was against the Saints, and that was because of a pick 6. So I think 19 against the Cowboys, 12 against the Packers. I know the Packers are kind of supposed to have a good defense, but I don't know. I remember saying at some point, it might have been one of the previous videos, if I said it then it wasn't a previous video. Anyways, point. I remember saying that I don't know if Brady's really in it this year. Like, he retired, and then he came back. Apparently, there's a lot of shit going on in his personal life. You saw the way he reacted during the Saints game. He's literally throwing tablets on the side of the floor. On the sideline because he can't get anything going. 3 games in a row, the offense has not looked good. Now, granted, there's some shit going on. Mike Evans wasn't able to play. Godwin was injured the last game. I don't think he played in this one either. Yes, there are some pieces missing. But their offense doesn't look good. And with where Brady's mind may or may not be, I don't know the man. I can't really judge. There's this part of me that's like, I don't know. Brady might not even finish the season. There is, to me, a non-zero chance that partway through, he's just like, you know what? This just isn't worth it anymore. I'm getting the shit kicked out of me on the field. My personal life isn't going that well. My offense, I'm doing my best, but we're just playing like ass. This isn't worth it. I just want to be done. I could see it happening. I'm not going to make an official prediction on that because that feels like really fucky to predict. And because if I make a prediction, I'm probably rooting for it. Like, I'm rooting for the Rams to miss the playoffs because I called it. I don't want to root for a guy to retire in the middle of the season, although when Vontae Davis did it, halftime of week 1, it was fucking hilarious. I mean, because, Brady's got that fighter spirit. He's super competitive. It's like, I could see it happening. I don't think it will. I feel like he would at least finish the season, barring an injury, and I'm not hoping the man gets injured, don't get me wrong. But I will say, I think if he does get injured, then he is just going to say, no, fuck it, I'm done. I'm not coming back. This shit ain't worth it. But, I mean, good win for the Packers. Apparently, the Bucs' last play was shown on the Jumbotron in Tampa. But I guess, because that's a dumbass decision, does become a Dumbotron. I haven't seen that, but if that's true and the Packers use that, be like, oh, this is what they're running, we know how to defend it, that is fucking hilarious. Next was Atlanta and Seattle. This is a game I went back and forth on. At first I was like, yeah, I think Atlanta's got this. No, it's Atlanta. Seattle's got this, and Atlanta got this. They won. Kyle Pitts was their leading receiver, both in terms of catches and yards. So what do you know, Arthur Smith? It's like, why don't you give Kyle Pitts the ball more? Because I'm not trying to win fantasy football. I'm trying to win real football. Hey, look, you gave him the ball more. You actually won real football. It's, who would have thought? The Seahawks, I think it was 2 years ago. The Jaguars beat the Colts because that's, I guess now, a guaranteed in life like death and taxes. But Jaguars beat the Colts week 1. It was like, oh shit, the Jags are really good. And then they lost every single game. That seems like what the Seahawks are right now. They beat the Broncos. They beat Russ. Now, I don't know if they're going to get much more. I don't really know their schedule off the top of my head. I wouldn't be shocked if they beat the Cardinals. But I don't think they're going to win a lot of games. I know they're playing Detroit next week. Very winnable game, but of course I'm picking the Lions. I got to stick with them. I mean, good win for Atlanta. I think it's going to be a really long season for Seattle. 49ers, Broncos. So this is how fucking weird football is. The Broncos had 5 points through 3 quarters, and they won the game. They won 11-10. Jimmy G threw a pick 6, but it didn't count because he stepped out of bounds, like, at the goal line, so it was a safety. And I know Dan Orlovsky was like, hey, look, I'm not the only one to do it. It's like, that's true, but he just kind of stepped out of bounds, which was bad situational awareness by Jimmy. Dan Orlovsky was, like, running right on the, 3 yards into the boundary. It's like, what Dan did was worse, like, by far, but, I mean, I appreciate that you could take some humor in it. Both of them are funny as hell. And because that pick didn't count, but Jimmy really wanted it on his stat sheet anyways, he threw an interception to end the game. And it's like, do you see this? This is why I'm like, I don't think the 49ers were wrong for trying to get rid of the guy. He took him to an NFC championship. No, the defense in the running game did. He took him to a Super Bowl. No, the defense in the running game did. He did not play well in the Super Bowl. He barely played in those playoffs. Like, I remember, I think it was against the Vikings. He threw like 6 passes or some shit. That's crazy. That is you winning in spite of a dude, not because of him. And this was, yeah, you kind of lost because of him. He doesn't give up that safety. Well, I mean, I guess if he doesn't give up the safety, he gives up the pick 6, so you lose anyways. So, thanks, Jimmy. Oh, man, I sound like an asshole. But the last game, which also I wasn't able to watch. Yes, it was Monday. It was a different day, but I was playing Kuro all day. I didn't want to watch fucking Cowboys Giants. But Cowboys won. It was the battle of who's going to go 3-0, the New York Giants or Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is 3-0. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened in this game. I didn't really look into it. I haven't seen the stat sheets. I guess the Giants' fluky run has come to an end, unless it turns out they're really, really good. So maybe this was the fluke loss, but Cooper Rush is 2-0 this season. The Cowboys have only lost games when they played Dak. Now, again, every game is different. They were playing the Bucs week 1. You're probably going to lose that game regardless. It's not a great look for Dak. But, I mean, I don't think they're really going to have a quarterback controversy. But if Dak comes back and they still keep losing, that is going to be really interesting to watch. But, like I said, what do I know? I actually wasn't able to watch most of the games, and pretty much all of these I picked completely wrong. So join me when I pick the next slate of games, and hopefully I get more than 4 right.